You ever have one of those days where you open your mailbox and your life just goes completely off the rails? I mean, I found dead squirrels in there once, even a broken garden gnome, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day. I opened an envelope from an HOA for a neighborhood I didn't even live in, demanding almost 2 grand. That's how it started, right there in the sticky Georgia heat a day. So muggy you could just about drink the air in that envelope sticking out of my mailbox like it wanted to pick a fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, that happened. So there I am, just home from crawling around under a sagging farmhouse covered in sawdust and old spider webs, when I find this fancy envelope. Gold script. Eagle Oak Preserve HOA Office of the President. I thought it had to be some kind of mix-up. I mean, I live next to Eagle Oak, not in it. My land sits right on the edge, 5 acres of what used to be an old sawmill I'd fixed up myself, bought at a county auction almost a decade ago. I spent years making it a place worth coming home to, far as I knew outside of anyone's reach except mine. Or so I thought. Well, I tear open the envelope, and what do I find? Not just a bill, $1.750 for quarterly due, but a breakdown of services I'd never heard of, and a map with my land circled in red and labeled Zone 5A Extended Community Benefit Region. Like what? And then there's this patch of land beside me labeled Natural Drainage Easement that I'm supposedly responsible for, too. I laughed out loud, one of those laughs that sounds more like you just stepped in something. Must be some new intern with too much time on their hands, I think. So I do what any sane person would do. I call the number on the letter. The woman who picks up Melanie has the voice of someone who practices saying no in the mirror. I tell her I think there's been a mistake. I'm not in your HOA. She taps away on her keyboard, comes back with, "You're in our new benefit overlay zone." Mr. Rivers. I nearly choked on my coffee. That's not a thing I say. That's not legally enforceable. She tells me to take it up with their president, Karen Travis. Oh, you know you're in for a wild ride when the HOA president is named Karen. I call Karen and get a lecture about community responsibility and shared infrastructure, never mind that I don't use their roads or gates. She even tries to claim that by living within half a mile of their border, I benefit and have to pay up. When I push back, she gets all syrupy polite. "You're the only one making this difficult." Yeah, sure I am. Then she threatens collection actions if I don't pay. That's when it stopped being funny. I spend the rest of the night digging through every document. I've got title deed, survey, exemption letters, making sure I haven't lost my mind. Everything's in order. My land is as free and clear as day one. So the next morning I'm waiting at the county records office when they unlock the door. Mara, the clerk, doesn't even blink. "You having HOA problems?" Apparently I'm not the first. She pulls up every record for my parcel, and sure enough, buried in the files is a boundary clarification map filed by the HOA about 10 months back. Suddenly, my land is colored right into their so-called benefit region. Even worse, there's a signature page and there's my name in curly cursive I haven't used since I was a kid. I stare at it so long I think I might burn a hole in the paper. My signature's been forged. Now my neighbors' names are on there too, so I text them. Nobody has a clue. I start putting together a digital folder, copies of everything. I send a certified letter to the HOA and CC the county board flat out stating my signature's a fake and they'd better remove my land from their scam pronto. And I hire an independent surveyor. Brian Keller guys, honest as they come, did most of the county's original mapping. We meet up at a diner and he pulls out his laptop, shows me the old maps versus the new. "This isn't a correction," he says, "this is fraud. And it's not just my name, they faked other owners' 2 properties nowhere near the HOA. We're talking actual crime now." A few days later, I'm hiking the fence line with my buddy Ben, and we stumble on a sign nailed to a stake, "IRS seizure notice, land owned by some guy named Joe Winsley under investigation for tax fraud." That's the patch the HOA wants me to pay to maintain, except it's federal property off limits for anyone, let alone an HOA fee. So I send Keller the info. He runs the numbers, says there's no physical or legal connection between my place and that swampy mess. Anyone claiming joint use is lying, he emails. Couldn't have said it better myself. At this point, I'm done being polite. I write a cease and desist, mail it to every authority I can think of, even the local paper, just in case. 2 days later, a black SUV rolls up courier, hands me a fat envelope, new bill, over $3,000 signed by Karen, citing implied benefit doctrine. I laugh so hard I almost feel bad for the courier. Tell Karen I say if she wants a penny from me, she can come dig it out of my septic field. That gets a tight-lipped smile, and she drives off. That's when I call Jillian Mendes, a property lawyer who eats HOAs for breakfast. I send her everything. She drafts a legal notice so sharp, I'm surprised it didn't slice the mailman's fingers, then files complaints with the county zoning board and even the prosecutor. Meanwhile, Brian Keller connects me with an ex-GIS tech who worked with Karen Eli Watts. Over bad coffee, Eli hands me a flash drive with both the original and doctored HOA boundary maps, proof positive of deliberate forgery. Now we've got before and afters, fake votes, the whole playbook. I send the package to Jillian, and the next morning our local paper drops a front-page story, Private Land, Public Lies. Neighbors start reaching out. Turns out a whole bunch of folks got similar bills, most just paid to avoid hassle, but a few had the guts to fight. Karen's HOA releases some PR about good faith assumptions, but the county opens an investigation for illegal annexation. Jillian's practically giddy. They're bleeding Dan, and we're just getting started. But Karen, bless her heart, just can't quit. 3 days after the paper hits, I find a professionally printed metal sign bolted to my gate. Notice of non-compliant property, subject to assessment fines. I take pictures, call Jillian, and she files for an emergency injunction along with 2 other neighbors. We set up cameras, and sure enough, catch 2 guys at midnight hammering up more signs. I use my intercom, "You're being recorded, leave now or I'm calling the law." They scatter. The day of the hearing, the courtroom's packed, local reporters everywhere. Jillian lays out our case timeline maps. Fake docs, even the trespass video. Karen's lawyer tries to spin it like community benefit overrides procedural flaws, but the judge isn't having it. Grants us the injunction, bars the HOA from contacting us or messing with our land until further review. Karen won't even look at me as she leaves sunglasses on like some reality show villain. For a couple weeks it's quiet, but rotten wood always snaps, it never just fades. Sure enough, the HOA files a sneaky petition to annex all our land, retroactively claiming we agreed via administrative consensus. No signatures, just more lies. Jillian goes hunting through the HOA's old finances and finds a special reserve fund routing money through an LLC, Oak Reach Services, which is just a P.O. box belonging to Karen. The whole scam's funded by HOA dues and funneled right into Karen's pocket. Then comes the real twist. One of the board members, Trent, reaches out. He brings records, emails, and admits Karen's been backdating votes, faking meeting minutes, running her own little empire. He even has audio Karen saying, "We redraw the map, claim it was always that way, nobody checks these things." That's when Jillian pulls the trigger, gets the state attorney involved. Now we're talking conspiracy, racketeering, you name it. A couple days later, the real Joe Winsley calls, says Karen tried to pay him off to fake a boundary agreement. He refused, and with his affidavit, we sealed the deal. Grand jury subpoenas go out for Karen, 2 board members, and their bookkeeper. Charges for conspiracy, fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, and more. The HOA office gets raided. Local papers go wild. Karen's mugshot makes the rounds looking like she bit a lemon and lost. The trial's fast between the emails, bank records, fake signatures, and Trent's whistleblower files. The jury barely needs to deliberate. Karen gets 12 years. The board's dissolved. The HOA charter is revoked and all their assets are frozen. The judge calls it predatory abuse of legal structures, and the community breathes a sigh of relief. Me, I win my civil suit for damages neighbors do too, but honestly, the money wasn't the best part. No, the real victory was the day I put up a new hand-carved sign at the end of my drive. Simple, honest. This land is not included just because you say it is. Folks stop to take photos sometimes. I even got invited to speak at a community rights summit. Jillian introduced me as the guy who outplayed a whole HOA with a hammer, a barn cam, and a stubborn sense of what's right. I got a standing ovation. But the best place in the world was still my own 5 acres free and clear, where the only dues I owed were to the land beneath my boots and the sky overhead. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw the line when someone tries to claim what isn't theirs just because they can? Ever had to stand up for your rights against people who think rules only apply to other folks? Drop your story or opinion in the comments. Let's talk about what real justice looks like. And if you've ever tangled with an HOA or just appreciate a good fight for what's yours, hit that, like, and share this story so more folks learn to check the map twice.